Rightly or wrongly, people need to be pushed most often before they do that which is right. After the directive by President Muhammadu Buhari that members of his cabinet who have political ambition regarding 2023 elections to resign, some of them have started complying. They include, I mentioned earlier that we don't have confirmation to the first name there, and we can confirm the one of Science and Technology, that's Ogbonnaya Onu, and Niger Delta Affairs Minister, that's Godswill Akpabio, and others have joined Minister of State for Education, Emeka Nwajiuba, to resign over their presidential ambition. But the likes of Minister of Labour and Employment, Ngige, Justice Minister Abubakar Malami, and Minister of State for Petroleum, Timipre Sylva, are yet to quit. Now, the President's directive kind of changed the dynamics, altered the political equation, and to add to the present the directive, the Secretary to the Government of Federation, the SFG, what's his name? Boss Mustafa actually signed a release now adding head of agencies, ambassadors, and many of these government MDAs. And if you know you have political ambition, this directive affects you. So they started complying. What do you make of this situation?
They should, because obviously you occupy an office, and you want to transit to another. You should leave the former office so that you don't use that office to manipulate things. That is probably what Mr. President is thinking.
If you remember, it never used to be like that.
Yes, because every now and then you see the dynamics are changing. A lot of things are just happening. Things that like, look at the way people were buying the forms for 100 million naira, and see the humongous amounts of money that the party made. So many things are happening that are so unprecedented. So what I see in all of this is that, it is only fair what Mr. President has said. If it is not okay by you, then, give your reasons, because you can't hold two positions. And then again, that office needs you. So as you are going about trying to, lobby people, delegates to, pen you down and make sure that they vote for you or they choose you as a candidate, you're going to be very busy. It's a very busy time. So you don't have time for your office, so you might as well step aside.
Conflict of interest.
Yes.
Jide, as we predicted, we knew it's going to be difficult for Abubakar Malami to leave that seat. Yes, our friend, we knew it's going to be difficult because that seat gives him the leverage, the power.
The Constitution recognizes that Nigeria as the most senior minister. And is the only minister that the president cannot delegate his duties to anyone. He's the only minister that must be educationally qualified for the job. You can make somebody who's not a doctor a health minister. We've done it before.
Specified, yes.
We've done it in this country before. We made a pharmacist minister of health. But you can't make someone who is not a lawyer an attorney general. And you cannot delegate his duties to anyone. So by hierarchy in the cabinet, is the most senior minister. And we all know that this position confers a lot of powers, a lot of influence and all that, because you are constantly in the ears of the president. He needs your advice before taking big decisions. He was his lawyer during the CPC days and all that. So the president had known him for some time. So now he wants to be governor. He's been coy about it, but we know that he has ambitions to be. He has an ambition to become governor. Otherwise, he wouldn't be spending all that money. We know, but I think that Mr. President ought to have made it clear from the beginning. You do not wait for the Minister of State for Education to take a decision on his own to leave before now telling others that, look, I expect
to follow suit.
Yes.
Okay. Let's really take this break. When we come back, we'll talk more. Stay with us. Welcome back. So, we are still looking at the politics of 2023. Jide, before we went on break, we were talking about this minister with the juicy position that the minister of Attorney
General. I still think that some of them will leave latest by Monday, because even the issue of who to hand over to and tidying things before handing over. Talking about this kind of critical ministries, you've got to be careful. So some of them will take their time, hand over, and then leave. I don't see how. Look at Ogbonnaya Onu. He's one of the closest to the president. They've been friends for years, since their APC days. Not APP. APP. Yeah. Before it became AMPP, before CPC, So if he could leave immediately, that's a man who has integrity. And that's why a lot of people respect him. So he's left. What are you waiting for? And for this minister especially, the distance between Abuja and Kebbi State is such that there is no way your work will not suffer. If you are chasing how to become governor and still holding on to your position. So in the past, we never had things this way, whereby you literally have to beg people to resign. Once they show an interest in contesting, they leave on their own. I don't know what's going on these days. That you have to be told to leave? No.
Do you think some of them are afraid that the coast is not too clear?
Of course.
Of course. I might not get this thing, and I won't be allowed to come back.
I'm sure that some of them will have a conversation with the president and will ask the question, if I lose, can I come back? Can you give me that guarantee, sir, that if I lose? Because someone like my friend, the Minister of Labour, who said he wants to talk to the president first and get clarification. The clarification is in the memo that the SGF issued. Why do you still need to talk to the president before determining whether you are going to leave? The conversation will be, Mr. President, this primary election is just a matter of a few weeks. If I lose, would you be happy to let me return to my job? And for some of them, the president says yes, they will be happy to come back.
Would that be legal?
Huh?
Would they have to go through the screening and what they went through before?
I don't know how they are going to handle somebody who, for some of them who look at, some of them who had been in the National Assembly before, it's not going to be, even if they do screening, they will just tell them, take a bow, they will leave. So it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I know that by Monday, some of them will leave. But look at
This is Oga. This is born in Tallinn. That's Minister of Women Affairs.
Yes, even Ahmad, the new media aide to the president, that Kano boy, he has resigned. He wants to go to the House of Reps. He resigned quickly. So there's no big deal.
So what do you make of their position now? Should they leave and be allowed to come back, or leave and it's like a gamble?
At this point, they have to make a choice, and they have made their choices. So they have to leave. They have to leave. You can't,
Some can withdraw their presidential nomination.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I still have this job till next year, March.
And I'm very sure, bird in hand.
Yes.
If they have that mindset, they should go ahead. But you can't run two homes, for example. You are a minister. The job itself is humongous. Now you want to begin to campaign to be, to be the candidate of your party. That in itself is humongous. So it's not possible to handle the two positions. So they have to relinquish one for the other. And I want to feel that if anyone that has gone ahead to leave the office, why you shouldn't come back. You shouldn't come back if it is, if you are looking at it holistically, because you made your choice. You were given options and you have made your choice.
I think the fact that the president was silent on whether they could leave or not encouraged a lot of them to get into the race. You encourage all of them to get into the race because maybe they felt, look, nobody will make it compulsory for us to.
We have a caller. Isedu is calling us from Abuja. Thank you for joining us, Isedu.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
All right. Hello.
Isedu, you are live.
Good evening, President Uncle.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, my own contribution is that what I've seen in all this spinning out is that we have been too self-centered and selfish. Because if we had wanted peace and harmony, the best thing to have done was to just zone this thing to the southeast. And all the permutations we are doing, more population here, more population there, will not really have mattered. It will have just been a battle for them in the east that to resolve. That's my humble contribution on this.
Yes.
All right.
And Jide, looking at even all the MDGs, the other government agencies, it will be affecting our friend like Dr. Godwin Emefiele if he decides to go ahead to pick that nomination form. It will affect him.
Of course. Of course.
He must leave his present position.
If people, even people occupying lowly positions like the aide of the president of new media, if he could leave, why wouldn't the governor of the central bank leave? That's not a job to combine with politics, even in the first place. It's unheard of. I'm saying that so many oddities are happening in this season, and it should not continue. Once you want to throw your hat in the ring, you want to contest the election, you know what to do. Step aside. Let someone else continue the job. And in the very recent past, we saw an Adelabu, deputy governor of the CBN, he left to contest for governor in Oyo State, and he didn't win. But he didn't go back.
He didn't go back.
Because he had left for good.
You have to calculate the risk.
So, it's just, I don't know, I'm waiting to see. You see, the deadline will soon expire. Let us see whether the president.
We even have funny situations that some people, like a contingency plan, they've taken that form, presidential nomination, they've taken senatorial nomination, and they are very quiet about that, knowing that, look, like the Senate president, we're told, took the form for presidential nomination, and at the same time, he took his own Senate. You know, he can't afford that Senate. He has been there since like forever, so he can't afford to leave that seat if he doesn't clinch the candidacy.
Okay, what does that tell? That shows clearly that this is, it's not about service to the people. It's about selfish interest. And you see, what is playing out is interesting. And whatever tactics the two major parties are bringing to bear, they shouldn't forget one fact. The electorate are watching. They are watching carefully the games the two parties are playing. And I can say, you know, I can't really say for a fact, but I think from what I've heard from a few persons here and there, I think if they're not careful, it will affect them. Because, you see, the electorate we had in 2019 and the ones we have now, they are more informed, they are ready. I mean, some things are clearer now. So whatever game, APC, PDP, whatever game they are playing, people are watching. So be careful the game you play so that you don't end up preparing the rope that is going to use to hang you.
Now, I don't think, Julie, from my own estimation, and as a political pundit that have been covering the game for a long time, I don't have this feeling that that miracle can happen. That, this current set of electorates, that they will rebel against PDP and APC. That within this time and the next time of election, that a party will just spring up and a lot of people will make up their mind. There will be this kind of rebellion against the status quo.
No, you can't have a wholesale rejection of any of the big parties. What will happen is the same thing that happened during the last election, whereby the PRP, the SDP,
the New Nigerian Party,
ADC. In this case now, Kwankwaso has formed a new party, a new Nigerian party. He knew that he could not go to either of the parties because in Kano, his enemies dominate the two parties and in the leadership position in both parties. So he saw that he could not go there. We analyzed the situation that he found himself before he took that decision to start that party. And it just wasn't looking good for him. If you go to the APC, the governor is there. The governor and Shekarau. So he had to start a new party. So what we are going to see are cases like, okay, you force this candidate on us here, then we vote PRP.
Instead of
PRP
the mainstream parties.
In Bauchi, where there was a big crisis within the APC, PRP reaped bountifully. Go and check. Even national law, some of their candidates became national lawmakers. So they did very well. In Kano too, PRP also had some candidates of their own. The party became a little bit famous during that period because it offered alternatives to people cheated within those two big parties.
Okay.
Peculiar.
So you see not people on the national scale.
No, okay. You will see people win elections from candidates of small parties.
Amma from Abakaliki, I think that's the capital of Ebonyi State. Thank you for joining us. Amma, are you there? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, my encyclopedia.
I greet you, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Let's have your opinion.
Yes.
He's listening to himself.
Good evening.
Just keep talking.
Yes. Please, those people who have bottom and refuse to resign, I am trying to organize some people. I'm trying to organize some people we are consulting. We should buy some as Tokumbo form so that we can pay the next amount of money and then contest. If they don't want to resign from their post, let them send their different Tokumbo form, nomination form, so that we can contest. Thank you very much. Please, Hospital.
I don't understand
Tokumbo form. So you are running up on your analysis on.
Yes, that's what we'll see. We can't have a third force. It's not easy to form a big party. See how many parties came together to form the APC. And
look at the time that it was formed.
See, if not for the crisis in the PDP, the APC would not have formed government.
Yeah.
Is that crisis that they reaped bountifully from?
There were candidates. 5 governors that walked away.
See, there were candidates who lost primaries in APC, PDP. By the next day, they contested the primaries of the PDP and won. Somebody like the governor of Kebbi State now. Somebody like Otom. You know, so if it's not easy to dislodge a ruling party, especially a new party, because the crisis was humongous, getting to the point that they even worked out on a sitting president. You know, so that's what
the national convention.
Yes, so you cannot. It's not easy for a third force to just come. People do not change their opinion rapidly like that. It's just like you've been used to buying a particular kind of dress. Before they convince you, or a perfume, for example, before they convince you to settle for another perfume, it will take a while. You know, so that's the same thing with this political party. They will keep moving from APC back to PDP, from PDP. But for a new party to just come and then will be accepted,
both parties are
by
different between 6.5. It's not almost the same thing.
But what if, let's take for instance, a particular person, I don't want to mention any of them, maybe is not picked by the party. And another set of parties, maybe 2, 3 other parties, did a merger, and then they call him into the party to
are not strong enough.
They won't be strong enough.
The fragments.
They won't be strong. There's
What I
something
just see
called
that
structure in political. You won't have the structures.
I know,
And
but
you can't win without those structures.
Across the length.
On election day, that is when you know the value of having structures. Because it's those structures that will get out the voters for you.
Yes.
That will help you to ensure that you get more people to go and vote.
Can you afford that agent? You want over 120,000 polling units.
It is
Put your
our
agent there.
Why is APC winning in Lagos?